Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, thanks to the amazing team over at Shockwave Store, we're going to be taking a look at the all-new Bingo Toys BT-01 Transformers Bumblebee movie Shockwave. Now for those of you looking to add this guy to the collection, he is currently available and in stock right now over at Shockwave. So for that, of course, I shall pack a link down in the description box below. And in all honesty, I don't think I've ever been this excited for a third-party piece as I have been here for this Shockwave, and for good reason too. Not only is this an incredible design, but this truly is our first proper figure of Shockwave as he appeared in the Bumblebee movie. Now essentially what Bingo Toys have done here is basically given this Shockwave an almost 3.0 DLX makeover, which I actually think is a really cool idea. So I don't think he's going to scale all that well with your movie masterpiece figures, but for those of you who collect the DLX line by 3.0, he's going to fit in fantastic, especially in terms of not only scale but also detail as well as paint and articulation. And unlike some of those 3.0 figures, this guy can in fact actually transform. Now bringing him in here for a closer look, you can see that in regards to the detail, especially where that face sculpt is concerned, I think they've absolutely knocked it out of the park. The proportions just overall appear to be dead on. They really do look incredible. You can see in regards to the sculpt as well as paintwork, that is undeniably Bumblebee movie Shockwave. Decepticons, destroy the launch pad, let none escape. You can even hear for the shoulder sections, I think they too look great. We've got that gunmetal around the neck region, and even as we actually take a look at Shockwave here from a bird's eye perspective, you can see that cylindrical component which many of the B-movie characters actually have. I'll showcase that on the DLX Optimus Prime, but as we spin our attention here to the back, as mentioned beforehand, this guy can in fact actually transform, but you can see the back is completely sculpted and painted. Literally, there is no alt mode kibble on this at all, which I think is really nicely done, and you would expect that as well, considering that he never actually transformed in the movie. So we've got some really nice purple panels here at the back. Of course, that awesome looking spinal detailing of which has been coated out of this very nice gunmetal silver, and we've also got some more vibrant highlights of silver as well as purple scattered throughout this, and we do in fact actually get a proper almost a metal slingy like hose once again to match the appearance from the movie. Now as we just flip back around here, I think the torso unit looks great. You can see how we've got that transparent piece which does in fact actually encase some really nice sculpt work, really nice attention to detail as well as paint going on for that, and even the arms as well. I just think the armor looks so well done. Honestly, such an amazing design. Bingo Toys truly have knocked it out of the park here. You can see really awesome sculpt work. I think the proportions here of the arms all look great. The fingers look wicked, and the fusion cannon or the arm cannon, oh my goodness, this thing is a beast. You can see you've got that massive nozzle here at the front. It actually seamlessly integrates into the forearm, so when I begin to transform him, you will see that he does in fact actually have two symmetrical arms. This is an accessory of which attaches over the top, and I think they've done an incredible job in actually showcasing that. You can see some really nice paintwork, definitely up to par with what we've seen from some of those 3.0 offerings. And then as we just take a look here down to the lower section, I do find the thighs to be slightly too beige when in comparison to how he appeared in the movie. I personally thought they were more white or silver, so that really is the only area of which I'm not entirely sure of its accuracy. But other than that, I think the skirt looks great. You can see here the proportions once again looking incredible. The knees, all of that sculpted in detailing, as well as those subtle orange/yellow highlights. I just think he's such an amazing piece. Even as we take a look here towards the foot, you can see some fantastic paint as well as sculpt work. But not only is this guy incredibly detailed, but the articulation honestly is fantastic. So here at Shockwave's head, he can in fact look up that far as well as can look down. Of course, tilt side to side, it is slightly restricted due to these shoulder sections, but of course it can also look left to right. We do get a full rotation here at the shoulder, albeit slightly restricted due to the actual hose. Of course, these can hinge out to the sides. We get a rotation here at the bicep. The armor too can also hinge out of the way, mainly due to transformation, as well as a double joint here at the elbow, so you can see that can bend to a pretty decent degree here on the arm cannon. And then as we just take a look at the more regular arm, you can see once again not a bad range of motion, little past 90. Here at the lower section, we do in fact get a full wrist rotation, and all of the fingers are in fact individually articulated, as so is the thumb, and the same can also be said here for this arm had we not had the fusion cannon attached. Here for the torso, classic DLX engineering here, so as we spin our attention here to the back, you can in fact actually crunch this forwards, which reveals some internal detailing. Honestly, that is just so nicely done. So of course, you can have that crunching forwards as well as backwards. We do get a full rotation here at the waist, much like the DLX figures. The actual hips are on drop-down joints, so we can extend them, as well as these hip pieces here, just to allow for a 90-degree kick going forwards, as well as of course going back. He can indeed do the splits as well as rotate here at the thigh, albeit slightly restricted. We do get a double joint here at the knee, which can bend to a terrific degree, and all of the joints are in fact incredibly stiff, which is excellent. And then finally for the foot, this can pivot forward, backwards, rock side to side, rotate left to right, and we do in fact also get a toe pivot. So in all, in terms of design, sculpt, and paintwork, and even articulation, I once again think Bingo Toys have absolutely knocked it out of the park. This Shockwave not only looks incredible, but honestly feels incredible and poses super nicely. Now, it doesn't end there. The actual fusion cannon does in fact actually have a built-in magnet in it in order to activate Shockwave's Cyclops Eye. Now, in order to do this, it can be a slight pain. Essentially, you slide the entire fusion cannon off. I'll showcase this when we actually transform him, and then if you lift this flap up, you can see we've got a magnet. Basically, any magnet will activate the batteries here in the head. So here I've got one for an upgrade kit. You simply just hover that over, and you can see there is Shockwave's LED eye illuminated, looking once again incredible. Really matches the appearance from the movie, and to me truly is just the icing on the cake. Decepticons, destroy the Autobots! Such an awesome figure. So turning to some size comparisons, we've got the Bingo Toys Shockwave compared next to the official 3.0 DLX Soundwave. Now you can see the DLX figures are definitely not small by any stretch of the imagination, so the fact that this Shockwave is indeed substantially bigger than Soundwave, he's certainly going to demand so much presence on the shelf, and you can see that in terms of paint and sculpt work, I really do think he holds up incredibly well amongst Soundwave, Optimus Prime, and of course Bumblebee. And just for those who may be wondering, here we have Bingo Toys Shockwave compared next to the Takara Tomy masterpiece B-movie Optimus Prime. And to me, definitely slightly out of scale. This Shockwave was always intended to be displayed alongside some of those DLX figures, but I guess if you really wanted Shockwave towering over Prime, then maybe this wouldn't look too bad. But once again, personally for me, I do just find him to be slightly too big. And so turning to transformation, I've risen the camera up as much as I possibly can, as not only is this guy massive in robot mode, but he's about to get even bigger when we transform him into his Cybertronian gun. Now, before we take a look at the conversion, this guy does surprisingly include one rather odd accessory for Shockwave, that being this completely die-cast Matrix of Leadership. Now, whilst this is a really nice accessory, you can see sculpted really well, painted really nicely, it has no attachment to Shockwave at all. So is this in fact Bingo Toys hinting that we may indeed see their version of Optimus Prime somewhere in the future? I definitely think so, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. This can also actually be embedded within Shockwave's chest, so maybe the designers over there just want Shockwave, of course, to hold the Matrix of Leadership, that you simply do just pop open this section here, which will reveal a designated cavity, which essentially you just drop a matrix into, and of course conceal the chest back up. Seeing as we're going through transformation, I may as well leave it open, as you are going to want to do that in order to take the head and just duck this section down. Once that's complete, I then like to take the ears and just hinge those sections back, and then essentially we just conceal that like so. You'll then want to take the fusion cannon or the arm cannon and essentially just wriggle that off. Come here to the back and slide the hose off just like so. We're then going to want to spin our attention to the back, and you're going to want to ensure that the spine is fully tabbed in, as we're going to take these components here, hinge them all the way down, and you can see how we've got a tab and slot that this here will just clip into. Of course, come to this side and repeat the exact same process. So just snap that there into place. If you haven't done so already, you are going to want to fold this fist in, and then of course come to this side, fold the thumb in, and then just collapse that in there just like so. We can then hinge these here out to the sides, rotate at the bicep all the way around, and of course come to this side and repeat the same process. And then we're going to take these sections and just orientate them back like so. That will then allow us to bring this here all the way up. And then you will notice that we've got two tabs here and here that will in fact peg into some slots on the underside of the shoulder pads. So just align those up and snap them there into place. We can then take the waist joint, rotate it so that the front is now facing the back. And personally, what I like to do here is take the hips, shift those up just like this, turn our attention to the back, take these ones and just rotate these, and there are in fact slots on the underside that will peg here into these tabs, so just snap that in there. Of course, come to this side and rotate this one as well until that also snaps in. We can then compress the hip joints as far as they'll go, and then as we turn our attention here, you can see we've got two tabs on the back of these purple pieces that will indeed peg into these slots, so just snap them in there. just like so. We can then take these back panels, disengage those, and you can once again see the sculpt as well as paintwork looks so nicely done. And then just flip here and split this section. Take that, hinge that out to the side, take this one and hinge that section down. You'll then want to take this here and just rotate that until that there does snap into place. So you can see you've got a slot and tab that will just peg into place, and then we can come to this section and this here will just rotate all the way around, and you're essentially just going to want to leave it like that for now. We can then come to this side, of course, split this section, bring this here down, and then now essentially you're just going to want to combine these two halves. So just snap all of that there into place. And then you can see that we have got a slot that will peg here into these tabs. So just snap that section in, bring these two halves here together. And this will simply just peg in there like so. And then for some finishing touches, you'll notice that we've got a slot on the inside that this tab here will peg into. So just snap that section into place. And then finally, we can flip here to the front, bring in our arm cannon. Now, really, it's up to your own personal preference as to whether or not you still include the hose. Personally, I like to, but you are going to want to take these sections, just flare them there out to the sides, wedge this here, and you'll notice that we've got two circular ports on the inside that these tabs will snap into. So just snap that into place, and you can see two tabs that will peg onto the underside of these slots. So just snap that in, just like so. And then in regards to the hose, as mentioned, you can either remove it, or personally, I do like to attach it here to this section. And there you've got the Bingo Toys Shockwave fully transformed up into his rather cool G1-esque Cybertronian laser cannon. Now, personally, I actually really like the way this looks. Of course, they could have opted to have given Shockwave a tank, and to be honest, that probably would have made a little more sense when in comparison to this Cybertronian gun. But this is, of course, a really nice nod to how Shockwave transformed in the original G1 series, and considering the design is really based on that G1 series, it would stand to reason that Bingo Toys would, of course, give him his G1-esque looking alt form. And once again, I don't think it looks too bad. Despite the robot mode looking absolutely killer, they had to make an alt mode out of that, and I think they've done a pretty decent job. The handle is in fact actually fairly stable. There's not much flopping around, which is really cool. As we spin our attention here to the front, of course, that arm cannon does become once again the main barrel here for our alt mode, and I think it does actually stay together pretty nicely. Once again, it's not the tidiest, especially when we come here to this entire back section, but definitely not the worst alt mode I've seen, and in my opinion, leaps and bounds better when in comparison to that Mechanical Alliance Soundwave that I took a look at sometime last year. You can see as we flip here to the back, completely painted really nicely, which I really do think is this alt mode's saving grace. It's had this just been very bland and boring plastic, it probably wouldn't have looked as great as it does. But to be fair, that pretty much wraps it up here for the Cybertronian Blaster mode. There really isn't much to discuss here. It is essentially just Shockwave with his legs combined and the arms formed forwards in order to create what you are seeing here. I'd love to know down in the comment section below on what you guys think of this. Would have you guys preferred him to have transformed into a tank, or do you in fact actually like the gun? Personally, I find this here to be more of a bonus mode. It's not one that I probably will ever in fact actually showcase on the shelf, and after this review I will probably never transform this Shockwave, considering that he never converted in the film. I do know there are some out there who do find this here to be slightly uninspired. And so, some final thoughts for this Bingo Toys Transformers Bumblebee movie, Shockwave. Overall, I think it's a fantastic figure. In regards to the robot mode, it's near enough dead on perfect to how Shockwave appeared in that Bumblebee movie. Such an amazing design, captured perfectly here by Bingo Toys, I also think they've been very successful in giving us an almost 3.0 DLX version of Shockwave. It scales great with some of those other DLX official offerings out there, and in regards to paint and articulation, it's definitely up to standard. I would have loved to have seen more diecast. He does have diecast in him, but not as much as some of those DLX figures, but still, I think it's a more than adequate amount. I think all of the plastic looks super nice, especially the way it's been painted. You would in fact actually believe it to be of a diecast material. I think the LED eye is awesome. The proportions are all on point. I think the slinky hose is really nicely done, and overall, robot mode is just a dream come true. It truly is the best version of B-movie Shockwave that is currently out there. Of course, the alt mode for some will leave a lot to be desired. Personally, I find this here to be a bonus mode. I actually don't have an issue with it at all. I think it pays really nice homage to Shockwave's original G1 blaster, and to me, whilst the tank would have been cool, we're more than likely going to see Shockwave transform in a tank by Hasbro and Takara, judging by their latest core class release. So if you want a tank, then perhaps hold out for that Voyager or upcoming leader figure. I think in regards to transformation, it's very simplistic. The actual alt mode doesn't affect the look of the robot mode at all, which is definitely the main priority considering that he never transformed in the movie, and the fact that they took that design and were able to in fact actually give him an alt mode, I personally just think is fantastic. So overall, this guy certainly gets a high recommendation from me. It is by far one of the coolest third-party figures that I think is currently out there in the market in regards to live-action movie releases, and the transformation, unlike some of the previous figures that I've recently reviewed, doesn't take almost 10 hours to in fact actually get it converted, and it looks great in its robot mode. So with all that being said, if you are after adding this Bingo Toys Shockwave to your collection, it is currently available and in stock right now over at ShowZ. So for that, of course, I shall pack a link down in the description box below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this guy down in the comment section below, and also be sure to let me know on what you guys thought of the review. I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.